Many of you would assume that a guy who has been surrounded with four sisters will be given the luxury to sit around, being served food, and having no business whatsoever in the kitchen, right? Or you're wrong. You see, I've never been given the opportunity to accommodate the idea that cooking is a lady's thing. But yes, sadly, very sadly, there are still some places in some parts of the world that still have this mentality, this belief that cooking is a woman's job, the kitchen, their priority. And this opinion can conveniently be debunked by statistics which states that 77.4% of head chefs and cooks are what? Male, making them the more dominant gender in this occupation. You see, boys can cook, and that is a standing fact. Let me quote from my all-time personal favorite chef, Gordon Ramsay, and he says, "Cooking today is a young man's game. I don't care about what anyone else has to say." Growing up, I often helped my mom in the kitchen, from making chopping vegetables to making stock and creating other exotic dishes. And what I realized was that back then, I didn't know why. Okay, yes, I simply knew that mom would put this before that, but I didn't just understand. I didn't have that culinary knowledge, culinary arts. You see, culinary arts is the cuisine art of food preparation, cooking, and presentation of food in forms of meal from a chef's point of view. Okay, let me elaborate for you guys to understand better. Okay, so who here has gone to a fancy restaurant? Yeah? Okay, you step into the restaurant, the waiter comes, he gives you a menu card, and going through that menu card, you start seeing exotic dishes like braised beef tenderloins in red wine reduction sauce and sautéed vegetables, or spinach ravioli stuffed with shredded grilled chicken in white creamy sauce. And you're just sitting down there salivating. You're already imagining you're eating your food already. You place an order for your dish, only for the waiter to bring you something like this for a pricey amount. How will you feel? But do you know how much love and passion is right there on that plate? For as a black canvas is to a painter, so is an empty plate to a chef. They express that creativity, that passion right there onto that plate. And in order for me to get that culinary knowledge, I enrolled in a culinary school, and I'm currently studying in Red Dish Chronicles, which is the most prestigious culinary school in Nigeria. And on my very first day on Red Dish, uh, it was quite funny, not just because I was the youngest in my adult class, but also seemed to be the most unserious. Okay, unserious in the sense that I wasn't as passionate as the way others seemed to be. And that day, a female chef walks into the class and she tells us to introduce ourselves and tell her why we came to Red Dish. Why do we want to become chefs? And 90% of the class just kept on going on and on about how passionate they were about cooking, how they love cooking, how they want to master their craft. Then she points at me and says, "Young man, what about you? Why do you want to become a chef? Why did you come to Red Dish?" And I just told her, "I just want to eat good food." And she laughed and she says, "No worry, you soon understand." And yes, few months in, I did start to understand. You see, cooking began to open my eyes. It began to broaden things in a more better perspective. One of my most relatable chef success stories is about Chef Muse. Okay, now she is the female chef that asked me the question earlier. And Chef Muse, back then in her days in school, she wasn't your typical average student. She was never really psyched about school or academics. But stepping into this culinary space, she brought out this creative energy she didn't know she had in her. And she channeled it into the food that she cooks. She's one of the best graduating students from Red Dish, graduating with a 98% average score. One of the best scores today. Who would have known? You see, talents or gifts are not gender sensitive. Remember when I said earlier that male chefs are the one leading in the industry? Doesn't mean we don't have exceptional female chefs too. So I relate really well with Chef Prince because I've never really been enthusiastic about school or academics. But one thing I didn't also know was where I lie. Where am I? If I'm not focused in school, where am I else? And I want to quote from my favorite chef, Marco Perry White. And Marco Perry White said, self-discovery. Once you can discover yourself and who you are, then you can unleash your full potential and be happy. That was the missing piece to the puzzle. Self-discovery. And so I recently hosted my first event as an upcoming chef, a taste of heaven, where I hosted my guests to a sumptuous 4-course meal, and the event was a success. But on hosting this event, I realized few little things in which I still need more knowledge. I'm still thirsty for a lot of knowledge to come. And so I'm barely few months into my program, but I can say that I've have the most important thing was that self-discovery. So you can have to discover yourself and what you're passionate about. Now I can unleash my full potential, I can thrive, and I can be successful in my craft. Thank you very much.